All right, welcome everybody to Embrace the Suck. This is going to be episode 77. And listen, I know I've been off the radar for a little bit. I took a big break from doing recruiting duty episodes, and that's just because I'm no longer on the duty, and life is happening, and I'm doing other things with my life and the podcast. But I did want to come back to it because I had a lot of people reaching out saying, "Hey, man, I haven't heard a recruiting duty podcast," and there's a lot of conversations going on out there. And also, there's a huge chance that I might be doing a second tour. So I was like, you know what? Let me get back in the swing of things and let me start, asking some questions about this new Marine Corps recruiting duty that everybody says is so different. So I made a post on Facebook and I said, hey, I want to talk about these different topics. And my man Donny here just hopped right on Staff Sergeant Moore and was like, yo, let's go, bet I'm down. And immediately DM'd me, and here we are now. So like I have most of my guests, the people I've never met before, and I think it's the best part about it is having two Marines who've never talked before from two totally different ways of life, hopping on a podcast live and just making shit happen. So without further ado, Donny, welcome to the show, and I appreciate you for hopping on, man, and tell us a little bit about yourself and just how you found yourself on recruiting duty, bro.
Hey, well, first and foremost, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be a part of the podcast. If you haven't already added and followed what he has going on, follow him. He's doing an amazing job. So thanks for having me. Like I said, again, I'm Staff Sergeant Moore. I actually just left recruiting duty like maybe a few weeks ago and did my 3 years, got my ribbon. I was successful, but also dealt with the bad too. So I can speak from both angles. And I'm from Kansas City originally, so I did get my by name. Not exactly where I wanted to be, but I did get Kansas City, so I was about maybe a couple hours from my home. So I got to see my mom on the weekends when I had a weekend. But that's pretty much me, myself. I'm pretty much expressive. I like to talk to a lot of people, so I went on recruiting duty and I volunteered. Actually, I didn't get hit. Okay. I didn't get hit. I didn't get voluntold. I actually volunteered because I know it was something I wanted to do anyway. And I enjoyed it. It wasn't all bad for me, but I definitely had some bad experiences. We can talk about pretty much both sides.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm straightforward with it. Let's do it.
So the first question I got for you, man, is what made you decide to volunteer? Like, what made you say, you know what? Hey, let me ante up. Let me get out there on my own and have this happen to me before it happens to me. Being voluntold. What made you do that?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm a type of person that work better when I volunteer for something rather than being voluntold. So I know if I gave myself an opportunity to make that decision myself, that I was going to do better in that area. Also, I knew from when I first got into the Marine Corps that I wanted to be a recruiter. Like, I like helping people. I really want to be that type of person that can put somebody in a position to be successful. So that's my personality, and I can do DI as well, but I just feel like recruiter was more wholesome. Yeah. You get to actually connect with the parents, the family, and the kids more, and that fits my personality a lot better. So that's why I chose to volunteer to be a recruiter.
Got you. Wow, bro. And you know what, man? I love that because you saw you saw what you were good at, and you said, hey, let me attack this from the front. And on top of that, like you're looking at it as a positive way, right? And that's the biggest thing about recruiting duty is that people come out here with this idea that like, oh, it's gonna suck, it's gonna be horrible, it's gonna be the worst time of my life. Right. And I always bring that up, like, bro, of course, if you say that, then it's gonna be that way. Like, absolutely. No matter what, if you put that taste in your mouth, you're gonna have a bad taste in your mouth. But Donny, he's coming out here like, yo, you know what, bro? I'm gonna change lives. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that because we're afforded the opportunity to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people ask me, or people who are on second tours, why would you ever go back? And in my opinion, being able to be the spokesman for the Marine Corps and being able to change lives like someone did mine, it's my way to give back to the community. It's my way to give back to God. It's my way to give back to just another person.
Absolutely.
So let's start from there. Like, what would you say is Staff Sergeant Moore's take on recruiting duty? Like, when you look at it, like from your aspect as a staff sergeant, what are your thoughts? And then my follow-on question is, does Donny have a different look at it? Like, do you look at it in two different scopes, or is it one scope?
Okay, so kind of backing up a little bit, I actually came on duty as sergeant. So soon as I picked up sergeant in like 2018, I put in my package to be a recruiter, and then I got put on because I got volunteer. Had a lot of recommendations for it, so I actually went on as a sergeant. And first thing foremost, rank does not matter on recruiting duty.
Bro, my man, say it again, bro. Say it for people who did not listen.
Rank does not matter on recruiting duty. You can literally be a gunny and be in charge as a sergeant. So do not think that when you go on recruiting duty that someone's going to be looking at you because you are, a higher rank. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So get that out your head. So when I came on the duty, it was like a culture shock because in the fleet, it's, rod gunny, rod staff sergeant. It ain't really none of that. It's kind of like hey, we ain't here together as a family. Let's do what we got to do so we can go home. That's what it's all about, So that's what it was. And
it's a different way of life, man.
Oh, absolutely. So as I looked at it when I first got out there, I knew what to expect because I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I was asking friends that were prior recruiters, and everyone was telling me it sucked. It sucked. That's all I ever heard. And I was like, man, my goodness, is it that bad? In reality, being on that duty, looking back, it was not that bad. It's not that bad. And I know people are thinking, oh, he's just saying that because no, first of all, I came on the duty with a positive mindset anyway. So I was already in a mindset of being successful. When I went out there, all I was told was this, and this. You do this, you do that, you're going to get results. Yes and no. Obviously some days are going to be better than others. You're not going to, be successful every day on recruiting duty. Some days are going to be worse than others. But as long as you consistently put in that work and don't sit back and cry and do all this and that, people spend more time, crying than just putting in the work.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I sit back and say, yo, all the time you sitting back crying about this duty can be put into, finding something, going to do something, And
so now, did you? Sorry to interrupt you, but
you could.
so did you witness that firsthand though?
Absolutely.
Did you witness? So can you talk a little bit about that? Because this is why I have the podcast, right? Because so many people, like you're saying yourself, I'm not even saying this, you're saying it for me.
Yeah.
So many people have this negative look on recruiting duty, and I've said this before, and people get mad at me. When you get histed, for the people who get histed, immediately you see a Facebook status like we all saw this weekend. We all just saw it today and yesterday. We all just saw it. Safe from the hiss, right?
I saw it.
So you just saw that, right? And what happens is that as soon as that hit list comes out, people make those statuses, and then they go into work the same day or the next day, and then all of a sudden, all this chatter in the background starts happening. Oh, bro, you got histed. You're gonna hate your life. And the worst part about it is that the majority of these people that are saying this to these Marines are gunnies and mass sergeants. And that's the biggest thing that I've always hated. I've always hated that because in my mind, if you walk around stating that recruiting duty is the worst thing that ever happened to you, then you were a sandbagger. You never wrote more than 2. You never wrote a 2. You probably wrote your 1s if you could.
If you could.
And listen, I would love to see the data to prove my point. But the reason why I say that is because the Marines who really did their job and they just did it, they never bring it up again. They're just like, yeah, I was there. It was cool. That's it. Or they start off with, hey, bro, you know what? Dude, like you said, hey, man, if you work hard, you do what you got to do and go home, you're good. The people that literally talk so much shit about recruiting duty are the dudes that were sitting in the office, not doing shit, never had contracts, never were writing bats, were never writing their share of the mission. And they're the dudes that are sitting there mad. They're the same guys that within 6 months ended up being program specialist or ended up going to MEPS. And it's like when someone tells you no one's ever going to tell you I sucked at recruiting duty. No one's ever going to lead with that. So when somebody tells you recruiting duty sucked, ask them, hey, man, how long were you there? How many contracts did you write? Because reality of it is that did they suck and they refuse to grow where they're planted, or did it legitimately suck? And 9 times out of 10, you realize that it sucked, but so does the Marine Corps. How many times in your MOS were you out there in the fleet, out there in the gutter, wherever the hell you were, and you were in the suck?
Exactly.
But you remember that and you love that. That's what Marines strive for.
Exactly.
So But what did you see firsthand? Like what? And we don't got to use names, but like,
No, absolutely not.
did you experience that firsthand? Like where you're trying to work your ass off, you're trying to make shit happen, and this other, whatever you want to call him, is sitting to your left, not doing nothing.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up. So, for me, I hate to say this, but I was considered a bone roller. Now, if people don't know what that is, that's just essentially a recruiter that was on his grind, getting to it, writing contracts left and right. So I was considered that in the office. So I knew my expectations. If I wasn't writing at least a 3 or a 4, it wasn't a good month for us because I had the person left and right of me, pretty much instead of working, he's just sitting there, crying about the duty and ready to get back to the fleet, and which is really a morale decliner in the office because we already in a struggle environment. We don't need to hear that. We know the suck, especially people that are married with kids. See, I was single with no kids. So for anyone that was married with kids on the duty, man, I'm telling you, good on you, and communication is key, but that's another conversation. But basically what I'm saying is when it comes to the duty, just do the work because everyone's going to be affected by it. It's higher than what you think. It starts with the RSS, goes to the RS, and it goes up and up. So as an individual that saw it firsthand, that someone instead of just working, they would just do things that just to get by. So for example, you need to make 100 phone calls. Okay, I'm gonna give you 100 phone calls, boss. And I'm gonna keep it at that, or I need to do 25, DCs or something. Well, I'm gonna give you 25 friend requests, but you're not really doing the work, if that makes sense. If you know what I'm getting at. So people spend so much time on doing what they're not supposed to do that if they actually did what they're supposed to do, they will be somewhat successful.
They spend so much time gaming the game,
exactly.
and it's like they get so disgruntled at the person who's saying, "Hey, man, just do your work." Like
exactly.
and then they get so tied into, oh, well, he said make this many phone calls. So you know what? I'm going to make this many phone calls. And it's like, bro, that's not what it's about, bro. It's about, okay, I have to make this many phone calls. And this is when people get upset, right?
Yeah.
When people get mad about like inflated numbers. And it's like, well, no, if you know anything about McChris and the way the system works, those numbers are your numbers. You created those numbers.
Exactly.
The reason why you have 3,000 TCs is because you're trash. The reason why you have so many AC contacts is because you're trash. Your AC, your contact to appointment, your contact to interview, your contact to contract isn't there. So I don't want
to cut you off. Yeah. But they're not putting in the work anyway, so they just gaming the game and they're inflating their numbers themselves.
Yep. And everybody knows that and they can see that. And that's the biggest thing, man, is it's like, bro, instead of playing this game, if everybody came to work, things would be very different. But now, mind you, because there's people who are going to listen and be like, oh, that's not true. Listen, we all understand that there are times where you're working your asses off and you know what? The CEO's on your back and he's like, hey, everyone's working 7 days a week.
Exactly.
We all understand that. But here's the thing, though. The reason why that happens in the command climate is because everyone isn't always doing what they have to do. You may have decided for the first time in 2 years that you were actually going to work today, but that day is the day that the guy next to you didn't work. And now, because not everyone's not running on the same cyclic, everyone's not running on the same gauge, that's the problem. But if everybody literally just gave their piece of the pie, like I was at the RS the other day, like talking to the operations chief, and I was just sitting there bullshitting with him, talking about like, hey, how do you, just refreshing myself, hey, talking about mission letters, talking about how does everything get passed out from one guy to the next guy, and me and him are literally just going over the numbers. And he's, and it's like, bro, there's offices that are only on for 5 contracts, bro. And then that drops down to like a Marine who's on for 1.33. So realistically, like like some of these stations, the substandard, like when I was on recruiting duty, substandard was 1.67. So like, bro, if you're telling me that you can't be substandard, that's insane. Like that's like, what audacity do you have? And what kills me is that, and I'm sure you've seen this, is that there's Rec-Aid Marines that can come home on leave and find 4 or 5 contracts in the time that they're on leave, and they can do more than a recruiter who's gone to BRC and who's had the training and who's gone through an MOJT.
I've seen it. I have seen
it. And that's what it is, man. It's because there's a desire and there's a want. And that's why, like, when I've had sergeant majors on the show who say, oh, you know what? There's no Marine who comes on the duty wanting to fail. Bullshit. Bullshit. There's people who come on this duty, and as soon as they get histed in their head, I'm going to fail.
Yep.
And then as soon as they get out here, within 3 to 4 months, they don't even make it through an MOJT, they're done. Yep. And you know what I mean? And it's and to me and to you, it sounds like it's all about a mindset, right? So
exactly.
So let's stop talking about the negative stuff. How do we have a winning mindset on recruiting duty? What was Donnie's winning mindset? What was Staff Sergeant Moore's winning mindset?
Man, I'm telling you right now, it was the kids. I'm telling you, 100% the kids, like PTs, pool pickup, drop-offs, pool functions, going to schools. Whenever I got to be around kids and they saw me much more than just a recruiter, because they saw me, you know, I'll say this, I don't care. They saw me out into the, you know, civilian life. You know, I would play basketball with them. I would form clubs with them. You know, I would do stuff in the community. Like I literally, when I first came to my area, I was in Joplin. I created a basketball group chat and I added college kids, all high school kids, everyone, because no one was playing basketball like that. And they have so many free rec centers. Mm-hmm. I would add them all and I would just play pickup games with them on the weekends. And they knew me as Donny. They knew me. They was like, yeah, he's a recruiter, but he's really cool. Best believe I interviewed all of them.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? But it was much more than that because they knew that not only could they, you know, I was about the Marine Corps, but I was also like a big brother to them. Like I would play basketball with them. And once they knew that they can trust me, it was no longer about he's just a recruiter, man. It's, hey, my friend going through this, you know, he need to talk to you. And that's what I was getting. And I was like, okay, not only am I, you know, a recruiter now, I'm an advisor now. Like, you know, people can talk to me. And that's exactly. And I was that for the second and third year. Because my first year I was just grinding, you know, core friends on the ground. But the second and third year, that group chat, it expanded crazily. And once I had that, it was easy because I was also doing something I love. I love playing basketball. So I'll be like, hey, boss, somebody go AC. I'm about to play basketball. I'm going to play basketball. I'll get 2 AC contacts. You know, I had the interviews. And I have another way of showing my face in the community. And that was everywhere, all over the community. They knew me. Yeah.
Well, and I think like, so I'm taught to this too. Like it's hard because I you know, I was in the position of a recruiter and a station commander, and it's hard because, and we'll talk about that. Like, so it's hard because, you know, when you come out on the duty and one of my boys, Romaine, funny story, me and him, when we first met, first 2 years we met on recruiting duty, we couldn't stand each other. The last year we became like best friends, and now we still talk every day. But so I remember one of the first times I went out ACing with him, he was a little senior to me on the duty, maybe like 2 months. We graduated BRC a couple months shy of each other. And I remember one time I went out ACing with him, and he was out playing, he's Haitian, and he was out playing ball at this local rec center. And as soon as I pulled up in my Deltas and I went to start ACing, and immediately he was like, yo, stop that shit. He was like, yo. He was like, yo, Bennett, stop. He was like, yo, if you're going to do that shit here, leave. He was like, if you're going to come here and do that, leave. And I was like, what? And he's like, bro, you're not about to mess up my AO. And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? He was like, bro, everybody on this basketball court knows me as Lud. And he was like, they know I'm a Marine, but I'm here to play ball. I'm not talking to them about recruiting duty. He's like, I'm not talking about them being Marines. If they want to talk to me tomorrow in school at the high school about being a Marine, cool, I'll be there. But right now I'm playing ball. And a lot of people who are listening to this are going to hate what I'm saying. But the reality of it is that I started acting the same way because yes, we are business. Yes, we are Marines, and we always have to be professional. But we also have to be able to be a chameleon and be able to just be Doug or be Benny or be Donnie and show the civilian and show the people that, like, just because you become a Marine doesn't mean you're no longer yourself. And the moment that you drop that, and now mind you, as long as you explain that to them, like right when they talk to you, hey, there's reverence. You call me by my rank. All those things, we keep that. We understand that. But at the same time, they also need to understand that, like, when you become a Marine, you don't lose yourself. And that's what a
Exactly.
lot of people have a problem with, is they think they're going to become a Marine and they no longer have what they used to. And by you being a real person, genuine, and talking to them and just being there for them like a boy, like yo, you're my boy, you're my dude, then they can come to you. They can confide in you. They can just talk to you about, about Becky. They can talk to you about whatever the hell's going on. And
Exactly.
that's when they're like, yo, I realized that Donnie's always been there. And he's not pressuring me to join the Marine Corps. You know what? Let me go find out what it's all about.
Exactly.
Oh, my boy did this. My boy did this, right? And it's about honey, right? You attract more bees with honey, right? And that's the thing about it. But in the same aspect, when you have everybody breathing down your neck, like, yo, what do you got for tomorrow? What do you got for tomorrow? What do you got for tomorrow? It's very hard to act that way. So how do you balance that? That's my question for you.
So I'm gonna be honest, some days I didn't have anything, and I didn't let it affect me. I think that's the big picture on recruit duty. You're out there for 3 years, not 3 days.
It's a
And
marathon.
yeah, and you can't always expect to be successful every day. And honestly, it takes a good recruiter to understand that. Which, when we talk about station commander, I got a lot to say about that. But you have to be successful to understand that you're not going to be successful all the time,
Amen.
and you got to be okay with that. Some days I come to my boss and not have anything, but he knows what I'm doing out there. He knows what I'm doing is going to give him something eventually. So he wouldn't really, harp on me that much. And I think that's a really good balance you got to have within your station commander, is they have to understand that not every day is going to be, a good day, but as long as you put in some type of work, so that tomorrow maybe something can come, and that's how it was for me. So I never was stressed on recruiting duty. Like the first year, maybe just a little bit, but I never was stressed because I knew I was out there for the long haul, and I wasn't gonna let just one day me not having something affect my whole month. So that's just how I did it.
But something that you said, and we'll talk about it, right? Is that you said my boss knew that I was working and that I was going to take care of him in the end, right? In my personal opinion, and I think that I have the ability to say this because
Yeah,
I've done 77 episodes and I've
yeah,
talked to people across MICRIC. So it's not one RS that I'm talking to, it's
right,
multiple RSs.
absolutely.
I've gotten Gunny, every rank has been on here. In my personal opinion, again, this is not MICRIC talking, this is just me talking. In my personal opinion, I think a huge problem on recruiting duty right now, and maybe even has been for a while, is the lack of confidence in our station commanders. And I say that because we tell them, we tell people, hey, listen, it's your office, do what you got to do, I trust you. And then all of a sudden, hey, where's your Marine? What's he doing? Hey, where's your Marine? What's he doing? Why doesn't he have an appointment for tomorrow? Why doesn't he have an appointment for tomorrow? And then a lot of times that station commander is throwing that recruiter under the bus instead of saying, hey,
Mhm.
listen, you know what? He's going through this right now, but we got you. We got stuff working. We're taking care of him, or hey, I got you. You got me. And I think that we're losing a bond between recruiter and station commander.
Exactly.
And I think that there's also, and again, reverence and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if we're not working in unison as a team, and we don't have an understanding of, what, man, Donnie is done. He had a long week. He got bashed in the head, numerous no-shows, or what, he had too many no's, and I followed up with them and I did what I had to do, but it
Yeah,
just didn't work out for this week. I gave him a couple of days off. That's how recruiting duty, in my opinion, should be. And
yeah,
you should be able to do that. You should be able to say, hey,
yeah.
sir, you know what? I gave Donnie a couple of days off. We're good.
You can.
Unfortunately, though, there are some places where that's not a thing.
Hmm.
You cannot do that as a station commander. All of your Marines need to be working,
Yeah,
and now all that's doing is breeding and fostering a horrible work relationship. The Marines don't want to be in the office. The Marines don't want to work. The Marines don't want to make mission. The Marines don't
right.
care about making mission.
Exactly.
So you being the recruiter and becoming a station commander, What was your view on that from your standpoint?
Honestly, I'm gonna say this statement right here. I don't believe you should be a station commander unless you were somewhat successful. And I'm gonna say this because there's a lot of station commanders I don't think can write a contract right now.
Amen.
I'm gonna be honest with you. And when I became a station commander, I had a level of respect for my recruiters because they seen my plaques, they seen my awards, and they knew my work ethic. You had to be successful because when you have a bone roller, you need to know how to manage that bone roller. Because if you don't manage him well and he falls, everything falls.
Amen.
Because
if he burns out,
if he burns out, it's over. You can't do that to your bone roller. And I was that bone roller. So, obviously I'm not gonna say any names or nothing like that, but I had a bone roller and I knew how to manage him because that's what I was. And you say that you can't, look out for your Marines and kind of put that sponge in between them and the command. You absolutely can. It just depends on the Marine. I didn't kiss any butt. I didn't say yes to everything. And when someone tried to come for my Marines, I say no. They're fine. They'll be okay. We have a whole month left. You will get what you need. Don't worry about what's going on over here. I got it under control. You just do what you got to do. I got it. They didn't like it. I didn't care, though, because I knew at the end of the day, my team was going to trust in me to take care of them. Once you lose the trust in your team, you're done.
Yeah.
And they're not going to look at you the same. They're going to look at you as them. I never wanted to be them. I wanted to be us. I wanted it to be us. So that's how I looked at it. I always want to ensure that they knew that I took care of them, regardless of how the command was feeling. Sometimes I would roger up 0 appointments for the next day. I'll take the hit. I don't care. I'm not going to force them to go do something and force a no-show because you're going to get yelled at regardless. Either you have something or you get a no-show. You pick your poison, So I never was the type of be like, okay, well, we got to be here doing this. No, you did your thing today. Got some good numbers. Go home. There's a couple times my bone roller was coming in very tired. I said, you all right? Go home. Oh, SSgt Moore. It's noon. Go home. I'll handle it. And then they'll ask me, why wasn't your recruiter working today? He was gassed. He was tired. Nothing he can do. I let him go home. Came back the next day ready to work. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. So as a station commander, one big thing I will say they need to do in the future is get someone that's actually successful, And as a boss, I was still writing contracts. So let that be known too.
Yeah, and I agree. I definitely do, and I said that multiple times because I witnessed it myself. And my thing is, listen, man. At the end of the day, if I cannot do something, how can I expect you to do it? So if I'm mad at this recruiter, Sector A, if I'm mad at Sergeant A of Sector A, and he's not affected on the phones. And he's made all these TCs, and all of a sudden I'm like, yo, you can't make a TC to save your life. You're not good. Or I take the positive approach, right? And I start, mentoring him, counseling him, bridging the gap, doing all those crazy things, right? And I'm teaching him. Well, actually, I can't teach him because I don't know how to.
Exactly.
I've never developed that art. I've never gotten somebody from a phone call to an appointment because I'm brand new, or I was just not good at it. So I cannot teach him. Now, mind you, a lot of people have this other idea where some people are like, hey, but you're a Marine, you're a leader. You should be able to lead an office into anything. Bro, this is not the Fleet Marine Corps. This is recruiting duty.
Exactly.
If I cannot provide, and again, this is my opinion, if you cannot, as a station commander, provide quality training to your Marines, it does not matter how good you are at leading. Because when that Marine is on the phone, leadership doesn't matter.
It's out the window.
Skill, and closing with and destroying that enemy, the TC, that's what matters. Getting that person from no to yes. And if you cannot equip that Marine with that training, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how great of a leader you are. It doesn't matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter how dope you are. No. If you cannot teach that Marine how to do the act of telephone calls and or ACing or any of those things, it doesn't matter. And I say that because when a Marine walks into an office, when a station commander walks into an office for the first day, what does every recruiter always do? They look up their APR in the system.
Absolutely.
Every recruiter in the office immediately, they're looking for their APR. They're trying to find out, like, yo, who was this dude? What was he? Blah, blah, blah.
You can't find it.
And you can't find it, or you do, and you find out that this dude's freaking numbers were trash. So now immediately you're like, bro, I'm not gonna listen to a thing this dude has to say. But now if you're the recruit, if you're the station commander who can take the phone from somebody and be like, yo, hold on, watch this. And now flip the script and show them how to, because how many times have you had a recruiter say, oh, this list sucks. I can't get it. I can't get an appointment off this list. This list is trash.
I'm telling you.
And then all of a sudden you say, you know what? Okay, sergeant or staff sergeant or gunny, hey, have a seat. I'm going to call your list today. I want you to sit next to me and I'm going to call your list. Which one's the shittiest list? This is the shittiest list. Got you. Oh, hey, I just got 3 appointments for tomorrow. But how? They never answer, bro, because you're not calling at the right time, because you don't know how to talk about disinterest. You don't know how to deal with disinterest. You don't know how to adapt and overcome. You don't know how to find needs and motivators. You don't know how to do the basic art of MC3, which again, if you have me on, now we're on TCs, bro. All you see over all over the Facebook page is TCs are garbage. TCs are trash, bro. TCs are trash because you are trash. That's it. The only reason why the telephone call does not work in your AO is because you're the one making the calls.
I got some on TCs.
Let's go. What do you got?
So look. When I first got on recruiting duty, I absolutely hated TCs. Absolutely hated TCs.
Me too.
I love ACing. That was my thing. ACing. I hated DCing too. I love ACing. Because I would literally be struggling. Tell my boss, I'm not going to AC. I'm going to give you something. And I always did. I always collected. Guess what happened to me, though? COVID. So I had the TC. I learned that TC is very effective if you do it at the right times. Because when I was going through the COVID thing, when it happened, I had to do nothing but TCs and DCs. So I had to talk to someone. TCs is actually really good, honestly. The list is right there. You got the number, you got the name. It's right there. It's literally right there for your taking, But I feel you. When I see TCs, I understand why they don't like them, but you can't get better at it unless you do it. So people avoid it. They try to avoid it.
Yeah. The reason why people don't like TCs is because of the grind and the hustle that it takes to become good at them.
Exactly.
And the same thing, bro. I was I was awful at TCs for like my first like good year. My first year on the duty, I was awful. But you know why I was awful? I had this female, she's a staff sergeant now, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, Brandy. Brandy was phenomenal at TCing. Brandy couldn't do anything else but TC. Like legit, bro, she couldn't AC for she hated leaving the office. So literally, Brandy would sit there in her skirt, put her legs on her desk, and she would just sit there and call people, and she wouldn't even pick up the phone. She would have it on speaker. And she literally would say like 2 or 3 words, and she would go on the phone for like 30, 45 minutes, and she would stay getting appointments. Like, she would set like 4 or 5 appointments a night off of TCs. And I was like, yo, what are you doing? And she wouldn't tell me for months. She wouldn't tell me. And then finally, like, she was about to PCS and she was about to be done with the duty. And she just looks over at me, and I'm in the middle of a phone call, and I hang up. I'm frustrated because I haven't got nothing. And she just looks over at me and she's like, Doug, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, what? And she's like, bro, you don't shut up. She was like, as soon as you get on the phone, I'm starting to meet with the Marine Corps. I have . She's like, bro, shut up. She's like, just listen to them speak. Listen to the moms. Let the mom tell you whatever the hell she wants to tell about how great her son is, all this stuff. She was like, the moment you stop speaking is the moment you'll be able to have longer conversations, and you'll be able to get people to listen to you once you've listened to them. But the problem is that you're not building trust and confidence in them, so they're immediately hanging up on you, and they don't want to talk to you because you're a salesman. But if you change your tone of voice, so now all of these things that she was telling me, I was like, oh shit. So everything changed. My tone of voice, my rebuttals, my answers back, everything changed because I understood it differently now. Exactly. And then COVID happened, right? And you quickly saw, when COVID happened, you quickly saw the offices that were good at TCing and you saw the same offices that were trash at TCing start failing immediately because the offices that were only getting AC contacts and contracts from those contacts immediately were dropping, and they were like, bro, well, we don't know what to do. We've never been here before. Oh, well, cool. Use a telephone. Oh, well, I never did that for the past 3 years. And then, unfortunately, you had station commanders who weren't equipped to train in TCs.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest thing, is that people hate TCs because you have to address this interest. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to get hung up on. So the reason why people don't like TCs is because the amount of hangups they get. And it's like, okay, well, then get better at what you're doing.
Exactly. And she was right about being quiet, because I said the exact same thing to one of my recruiters, because it's no longer about you, it's about them. So why are you talking so much?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, yeah, man. So what would you say, like, talking about like the mental health of the duty? How would you say you dealt with that? Was it a struggle for you? Was it not? Like, how did you deal with the stress and the anxiety of being a recruiter? And then once you became a station commander, because we all know that being in the shoes of a canvassing recruiter and being in the shoes of a station commander can be very troublesome, mind, body, and spirit. Like, it can really be on your head and your shoulders. So how did you deal with that mentally?
Okay. So me personally, the biggest thing that allowed me to have a equal positive mindset and not, have to deal with depression and all that stuff, because that does exist on that duty. It does 100%. Is honestly basketball with those kids. Like, I promise you, like, the fact that I was able to go play basketball with the kids that are in the community, and I'm talking about, colleges, high schools, all that stuff, it gave me a chance to kind of be normal in a sense, like to kind of like get my mind off of that and put me in a position where it's no longer about that. It's about just having fun with some individuals in the community, stuff like that. Video games got me through it a lot too. A lot of, when I could, but the biggest thing was basketball for sure. But my recommendations though, that I should have did, definitely therapy. You go talk to someone, because we had a lot of those sessions in the office late night. You have to have them. Like, what you're going through, you got to talk to your guy to the left and right of you, because they're dealing with the same thing as you, whether they're good or bad. They still dealing with the same thing. So talk. Don't sit there and soak in it because someone else is dealing with the exact same thing. So don't drink yourself to death. I done been there as well. I done been there. Trust me, my first year, I was drinking like it was crazy, and I'll admit it. I'm a base, but it's a thin line between that, because it's only so much you can drink, So I had to find something that that gave me an opportunity to stay in shape and have a mental mindset that would be better, and play basketball everywhere. I was everywhere, driving everywhere. Made a lot of friends in the community. Just getting involved. Don't be at home and sitting there alone. Be involved. And if you have a family, wife and kids, man, go take them somewhere. Take them somewhere. But if you're single though, play some basketball. Go out for a drink or something. Don't just sit home, because if you sit at home, if all you're doing is recruiting and sleeping, you're wrong. You will go insane if you recruit and sleep. I was doing that for the first couple of months, and I was going insane. So
bro, that's I'm I'm from Jersey, and I was an EAD Marine in Jersey. So like when I was surrounded by Marines, I would be like, bro, like, you're from Florida, you're from Texas, you're from wherever. Like, bro, like, this is the only time you're going to be in the tri-state area. Like, bro, go out, go get out of here, take your family, get out of here, go visit this place, go visit that place. Like, yo, I would tell my Marines, hey, take a 96 and go get the hell out of the office, go take your family somewhere. And they would be like, nah, man, I'm just gonna sit home and play video games. And I'm like, bro, like, no, because that's the thing, is that, like, bro, yes, you're on recruiting duty, but that's the biggest problem with it, right? Is that people allow recruiting duty to become this guise over their life for the next 3 years. And it's like, oh, what do? I'm a recruiter. Okay, what does that mean? I sit in the office from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock at night, and it's like, bro, but you don't have that doesn't have to be a thing. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can go out ACing with your family. You can meet your family for dinner. You can take your kids to the park and go here. You can take your kids to the mall. You can do this, and the third. And that's why, like myself, I always involved my family with my day-to-day activities because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't right for me not to. And I still got my job done. But there was
Right.
other people who were like, nah, man, nah, I can't do that. Nah, I can't do that. And then at the end of their 3 years, it was just 3 years of hatred towards the Marine Corps, towards their unit, towards the command. And it's always the command's fault. It's never their fault. So
Exactly.
it's like, bro, I'm glad to hear you say, like, listen, man, get out there in the community, focus on what's right, focus on the people, take care of the people, and missional. I said it all the time in the movie Field of Dreams. Kevin Costner says, "If you build it, they will come." Like,
Exactly.
and that's literally what it is, man. Like, it's on my plaque that my boy gave me when I
Mm-hmm.
ended the 4 years on recruiting duty. If you build it, they will come, bro. If you're out there doing what's right every single day, and you're meeting with people, and you're shaking hands, and you're a man of the community, people are going to find out who Donny is. People are going to find out
Exactly.
who Benny is. And then you're literally going to have appointments after appointments after appointments that you didn't even set up. You're going to have
Exactly.
people come walking into the office asking your boss, like, hey, I'm looking for Donny. And then your boss is calling you like, yo, you have an appointment? And you're like, no. And you're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, there's a kid here that has your business card who's looking for you. And you're like, and now you have residual income because
Exactly.
you treated people the right way. It's the same way in being a realtor, right? Taking care of people is the first order of business. And
Right.
if you don't realize that when you get out here, it's going to take you a long time to figure it out.
Exactly. It is it's definitely crucial. And that's the biggest thing that I took away from the duty is when you take care of the people, they're gonna take care of you. My third year on recruiting duty, I kid you not, I probably didn't do any prospecting because I was so busy getting just so many OTs because of who I was in the community. And it was to the point where when the other recruiters would go AC the area, they'd be like, SSgt Moore, you already talked to him. It was that bad. It was that bad. So it's either they were a contract, or I talked to him before, and I was well known. So and it wasn't just about that. It wasn't a number. I had a family. Man, I got every Marine that I put in because I recruited 65 of them. So I am a Spartan. Just want to shout that out. But out of those 65, maybe like 45, 50, 55 actually were Marines. I talked to them. I've literally just made a post about them and said, stay motivated. I think I just made a post like yesterday about it, tagged them all. And they still talk to me to this day. Everyone that I put into the Marine Corps talks to me to this day.
Mhm.
That's how I am as a person. And everybody in
Yeah,
that community still talks to me. So, it was
that's
much
dope.
more. It was much more than that to me. It wasn't just like a duty. And I still talk to them to this day. They still hit me up for project codes, you name it. So that's just how it is, man.
Yeah, no, and that's how it needs to be, man. And it's like, what's crazy that, your name will be in that area for years. And
Facts.
I say that because, like I said, like I'm a reservist, so I've been in the Monmouth County area for 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll bump into people, and I've known every recruiter that's come out of my RSS.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be out somewhere and I'll see people, and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, how is Sergeant Hernandez?" And I'm like, bro, Sergeant Hernandez was a recruiter here 10 years ago. Yeah, I know. How is he? How's Florida? And I'm like, wow, like this person remembers the recruiter from 10 years ago. And it's
Yeah,
literally because, hey, how's Mendoza? How is this person? Yo, Mendoza's been going for 7 years. Like, what? And it's still the same thing, bro. Like, people are like, because they were pinnacle pieces of the community, and they
exactly.
always knew the Marines, and they were like, and then they knew the person. And bro, people like other branches don't have that. Like we
No.
we have that. and
Yeah.
and that's the thing, though, is that, like, if you're in a community and you're not making your name known for a
Mm-hmm.
good reason, then you are a problem. You need to
Exactly.
fix that. Like, like when your ARI or your RI is out with you canvassing, they should literally hear people be like, yo, like, people should
Exactly.
literally be
They do
happy
that.
to see you. And then your command group is going to be like, yo, like, this dude's a spokesperson for the Marine Corps in this community. And that's how it should be.
Man, I couldn't even go to Walmart without someone saying my name, man. I used to hate it. I ain't gonna lie, I used to hate it. SSgt Moore. I'm like, man, I'm coming to get some bread and sausages, man. Leave me alone, man. How you doing? I'm doing all right. Leave me alone, man. But it was to the point where I couldn't go anywhere without someone knowing me. So, and that's okay. I was
Yeah,
okay
it's
with
good.
that. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
good.
So in the beginning, you said there was bad. What was before we cap this up, because we're about to have 45 minutes, what would you say? Because we've talked a lot about, like I said, like the work ethic. We've talked about recruiting. We've talked about being a station commander. We've talked about the community. But what would you say are some of the bad things that you witnessed on the duty that you, and also like what corrective criticism do you think you could offer for that bad that you may have seen?
Okay. The bad, it all surrounds around the station commander not being successful. If the station commander is not successful, you can't expect really to recruiters to actually become their full potential. And what I mean by that is when a recruiter is a bone roller and they're successful, and this is the bad, the station commander doesn't know when to stop, doesn't know when to calm down. Some station commanders are so busy trying to look good for themselves that they don't have no problem, dragging the recruiters along the way to make themselves look good. And I experienced it. I did. I experienced myself having to write a lot because someone, makes a bet that, oh, I bet that my recruiter is going to write more than you, or, oh, I bet this and that. And I'm just like, like, this is my life you playing with, I'm talking about myself. I ain't saying no names, but I deal with a lot of, trying to look good for everybody else. So you don't care about your recruiters. And that was the bad. And especially being a bone roller, you kind of want to relax. You kind of want to lay down. And the lack of accountability. When you have a recruiter that sucks and is continuing to suck and has shown that he does not know how to write a contract, that don't mean keep juicing the bone roller. That means train that recruiter to be somewhat on the level so that he can provide for the place as well. Because we all got to pay the bills. Can't one person pay the bills? We all have to pay the bills. So if you don't train that person and all you're doing is juicing the bone roller and he's out, what you going to do?
Yeah.
And that was a bad thing that I dealt with. It was really bad because I'm doing my job, giving him 3, 4, 5, and he wants more.
Yeah.
And instead of saying that the recruiter, he needs to, learn more, there's no way that I'm closing out the station myself. There's no way. So I think the lack of accountability and the lack of training, and like I said, it just all revolves around a station commander being successful. Because a successful station commander that can write a contract currently is going to know how to take care of his Marines, whether they're good or bad, because he's been on both sides. I think they just kind of I don't know. I'm not going to talk about no communities and nothing like that, but I just think that there should be a better screening. It should be a better screening for a billet. It's for to say. I'm not going to say what billet, but it should be a better screening. It should be a better screening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, man, and that's something that I've said numerous times, man. Is that like there's definitely a huge lack of accountability so there's a difference between there's Marines who don't want to try, and then there's Marines who don't care to try, and then there's Marines who really do want to make it, but they just can't get it.
Exactly.
There's literally Marines that they want to understand this thing called recruiting duty, but they just can't fathom it. Like they just can't figure it out. Like they're sitting there behind the phone and they're banging these phone calls out, but they just can't understand it, right? And then there's the people who and that's the thing. And I say this because I know one of them, my boy Durkee, bro. My boy Durkee, I love him to death. Gunnery Sergeant Durkee. Staff Sergeant Durkee was that guy for a year. Bro, the first year and a half on this dude's duty, bro, this dude struggled to write one contract a month.
Yeah.
But he did everything he could. Every month he did everything he could. Bro, when you told him to go home, he was at Walmart. When you told him to go home and see his family, even when you told him to go home, he'd be out there. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that Marine, besides myself and besides our my other buddy, we were the training he was getting was the other recruiters.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't getting the training from anybody else. And it was like, bro, but and finally, just one day it clicked. And he started writing 2s and 3s. And then all of a sudden, this dude who said he would never write a 4 ended up writing 4. He wrote 5 4s his last year on the duty.
Yeah.
And when you asked him, like, dude, what happened? He was just like, I don't know. I just figured it out one day, and it was like, oh, okay. And but the other thing too about the same guy is he would hand a business card to anybody, like the heroin addict on the street. Hey, he knows somebody.
Facts.
And bro, and guess what? His third year, we had juniors and seniors and rising seniors and college graduates walking in, and they'd be mid-interview with somebody, and they'd pull out his business card, and they'd be like, "Yeah, this guy gave this to me like 2 years ago," and I always wondered like where he's at, and then he'd stand up and be like, "Hey, that's me." and it's like, bro, and I would yell at him because I'm like, bro, you just never follow up with people. Like, you talk to all these people, but you just never follow up. You're not systematic. But
Yep.
that's what it is, man. Is that like I couldn't, and I agree with you, like that is the bad. Like, out of all the bad things that you see on the duty, it's the injustice that is served, because there's a lot of Marines that really would like to be good, but they just don't have. They don't get enough time and energy.
Exactly.
And the worst part is that when you have a Marine who's really trying hard, but it doesn't matter because he hasn't had an appointment. And then the command, they view him as this piece of shit bag. And this guy's like, but I'm trying every day. And like and they can't understand it, right? Because in the Marine Corps, they just spent the past 8 years, 10 years knowing everything about their MOS. And now for the first time ever, they know nothing about this job.
Yeah.
And it's fucking heartbreaking. And it's freaking mind numbing. And then everybody in the command thinks they're a piece of shit because they don't have an appointment for tomorrow, or because they don't have NWAs. And now all of a sudden they get labeled as a piece of shit because somebody doesn't want to train them. But mind you, there are those pieces of shit out there who really are that bad and who really don't care about the training. And when they do get the training, they don't use anything for it. So
don't sign that training unless you got it too.
Bro, I've been saying that forever. Like, and it's I think the last thing, that I would like to just kind of add out there too, like you said, and I hope you can, kind of I think you would agree with me. When I was writing bones, my boss, Kania Rama, I remember one day I wrote like my third 4. And I was happy. I was excited. I was like, bro, like another 4 on the deck, right? Like I did it, right? And because I was trying to break the record, like I'm trying to hit 8 bats, right? And I asked him, and I'm like, he didn't congratulate me, and I'm like, bro, what the hell, Gunny? And he's just like, bro, if you have to write bats, that means your team sucks.
Exactly.
He was like, bro, why are you happy that no one else put in the work? Because you shouldn't have to be writing a 4. But then my answer to him was, well, Gunny, they're your Marines. Why aren't you holding them accountable? Like, yo, you're making me write these 4s, dog. Like, I would like to have more time with my family. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I love having awards. I love being up top. Like, of course,
me too.
I loved it.
Me too.
But at the same time, though, now looking back, you know what? Like, those Marines could have done a lot more work. They could have worked a lot harder. But some of them, they did. They did everything they could, and I could never be mad at them because I knew, no matter how much Durkee pissed me off, I was never mad at him because I knew that he put everything out on the line every single day.
Exactly.
And I would do, and I would. So in turn, if he had an appointment, bro, I would do everything to get that kid to commit. I don't care, bro. I'm not letting Durkee not have a committal, bro, because I know what it took to get that kid in this office for Durkee. Yeah. I know the sleepless nights it took for him to get this kid in. So I'm gonna take it over. I'm gonna help him out.
Exactly.
And that's what a team is, man. Like a winning team is what it's all about.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Everything you said is absolutely 100% facts. For real, for real.
So lasting thoughts, man. Got 5 minutes left. What are your what can you say? Wrapping up the duty, your past 3 years. What advice do you have for the recruiter who just got histed yesterday? The guy who just got histed yesterday and who walked into work and everyone just making fun of him. Like, what do you got?
Well, first and foremost, my advice for you is whoever's laughing, see if they got a DI or recruiting ribbon on their alphas. First of all, let's start there. Do they actually know what it consists of? And then on top of that, once you do that, that'll tell you everything you need to know because they probably was just going through their career, dodging it. Now, as far as recruiting duty advice, go in there with a positive mindset. Don't even think about what anyone has to say because those same people that said you couldn't graduate boot camp when you were a kid, it's the same thing. You graduated, right? So now you're here. It's an endless cycle. There's always going to be someone that's going to talk some mess. It is what it is. But it's up to you to go out there and be successful because believe it or not, you can come on that duty as a sergeant and leave a gunny.
Amen.
At the end of the day. I left a staff sergeant. I got meritorious, and you can do it. You're highly competitive. So the people that's talking stuff to you say, now I look better than you because now I'm going recruiting duty. And when I become, when I do this successfully, I look better than you now. I'm in a different bracket now, and that's true because now my career is accelerated. Also, my people skills are improved. My knowledge about the Marine Corps is improved. Going on the recruit duty, I learned more about the Marine Corps than I ever thought. There's programs I never knew that existed until I went on recruit duty. Until I started doing my product knowledge, I said, we have this? So you're going to learn about the Marine Corps as well. And another piece of advice is get in your community. Do what you can to be a part of the community. That could be, volunteer at the bookstore, basketball, if that's your thing, football. Just do something in the community that's going to make you look good, and be yourself. You ain't got to do something that you don't like. I did everything. I didn't care. Be in your schools, create those relationships. Don't think just because the person is disqualified that they don't know someone. Talk to everybody. Talk to sophomores and juniors as well, man. When I first stepped on the duty, I know I'm not supposed to, but I don't care. I'll say it out loud. I was talking to sophomores because guess what they were when I was on my third year recruiting duty. So you want to talk to everybody that you can, and don't take any bad, hash from anybody. Do you, be you, go out there with a positive mindset, and everything else will fall into place. Work hard, don't fraud, don't fake. Do what you got to do. Do not take the old, habits that other recruiters have. Be your own person. Start from the ground up. Take BRC. You don't have to exactly be BRC. You're going to know what that is when they get there. Develop your own flavor to it, and recruiting duty is going to really be beneficial. Your networking skills going to be good, your resume. There's a lot of things you can do on that duty that's beneficial. So biggest advice, be positive. Be positive and remain humble. Remain humble.
Amen. Hey, brother, I couldn't say it any better, man. Community, stay humble, be positive. Like, that's the 3 takeaways from this episode, man. And I really appreciate that, brother. I really appreciate your can-do attitude and the way that you look at the duty, because it's unfortunately not enough people look at it like that. And I think recruiting duty would be a lot more positive and a lot more beneficial if we all looked at it like the way you do, and I think the environment and the work ethic would be different if that was the case. But Donny, thank you so much, man, for coming out, and appreciate your time. And hey, good luck back in the fleet, brother. I'm happy for you, bro. And but I definitely want to do another couple of episodes with you, man. I think we could definitely talk about some different topics and dive into some other things, man. All right. Hey,
whenever you have some time, I'm free all the time. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Again, anytime you want to talk to me, I'm available, man. I'm down to talk about this anytime. So,
all right.
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. You have a good rest of the night. I'll talk to you soon.
You as well. All right. Peace.